The year is 2005. An Xbox 360 is coming to a rich kid's house near you. Snape killed Dumbledore, Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader, and George Bush didn't care about black people. The year in gaming was popping off with critically acclaimed releases such as DMC3, Shadow of the Colossus, and 50 Cent Bulletproof. But while it seemed as if everyone else was finding success, Capcom wanted a little piece of that pie. And they would get a little taste of success when they would release a survival horror game that was bold, disturbing, new, and featured a dog. That's right. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the legendary PS2 classic from Capcom, Haunting Ground.
What the hell is this?
Hi everyone, I'm Fluff the Gruff, and I'm going to be talking about Capcom's most obscure and disturbing survival horror game. Now, a couple things before we get started. Today I'm going to be talking about how this weird game came to be, the themes and story of the game, and the public reception of its release. The game does cover some heavy topics, including
sexual violence,
and it can get pretty dark. If that's not your cup of tea, this is your warning here. Do not proceed further. Also, friend of the channel Scudlord, with his band Rat King, has released a new album recently. I was gonna put this in another video that was scheduled to come out before, but I'm currently still tweaking that up, trying to make it a little bit better, and I just wasn't really happy with it. So instead, that's going here. The new Rat King album is called Weathered. It's heavy, it's brutal, it's awesome. I love it so much. At the very end of the video, we're gonna be playing a section from the song Abyss from the album. And I'm also going to be dropping the Spotify, the Bandcamp, and their YouTube channel down in the description below. Please check it out if that's your type of music. I highly recommend it. The dude is a great dude and just very musically talented. I can't, my friends are so much more talented than me. It's insane. Now let's dive into the story behind Haunting Ground. Before we dive into Haunting Ground, our story starts with a little Japanese horror series known as Clock Tower. Clock Tower was a point-and-click horror game released in 1995 for the Super Famicom. Clock Tower was developed by Human Entertainment and directed by Hifumi Kono. Clock Tower was inspired by Kono's love of horror movies, especially the films from Italian director Dario Argento. In the game, you play as notable orphan Jennifer Simpson, who was adopted along with a bunch of other non-notable orphans by Simon Barrows and taken to his mansion by the name of the Clock Tower. Horror ensues as you are stalked by an entity known as the Scissor Man, with the only options available to you being to run and hide, or attempt to use traps to slow him down. Clock Tower came out a little bit before my time, unfortunately. But as somebody who loves the survival horror genre, I can't help but understand how influential Clock Tower was to the games we know and love. So while I don't have much knowledge about the series itself, I can learn to respect and love it for what it has given us. Clock Tower got some good buzz around its release, and the team would begin production on a sequel soon after as Clock Tower in North America or Clock Tower 2 in Japan. The game was released in Japan in 2006, North America in 1997, and Europe in 1998. And it sold well for an obscure Japanese horror game, with reported numbers of sold copies being right around 500,000. It was deemed a commercial success, and soon after, a third Clock Tower game, known as Clock Tower 2: The Struggle Within in North America, and Clock Tower Ghost Head in Japan, was released in Japan in 1998 and America in 1999. Clock Tower 2: Ghost Head... The numbers and the sequels get really confusing. Clock Tower 2: Ghost the Struggle Within Head dumped our friend Scissor... Stupid. Clock Tower 2: Ghost the Struggle Within Head dumped our friend Scissorman and Europe as a setting, instead focusing its story in Osaka, Japan, or Salinas, California if you're in the North American version. It was made by the development team without any input from Kono, and of course would be a commercial failure. Human Entertainment would file for bankruptcy in 2000, and that's where our story ends. The Clock Tower IP would be acquired by the Sun Corporation's game development branch, and nothing else would happen. Hey, but what if Clock Tower 3? Sunsoft, the game development arm of the Sun Corporation, would announce in 2001 that something else was gonna happen, and that not only is it a return to Clock Tower, but it's with the survival horror gods at Capcom. Holy shit, it's the fucking dream of all dreams. Clock Tower and Capcom? Everybody's gonna be like, Capcom? Clock Tower? Hell yeah! And then we're gonna make a bunch of fucking money, and we're gonna ride this fucking wave forever. It sold 122,000 copies. So Clock Tower 3 wasn't the resurgence of the series that they were hoping for. But the team behind it didn't want to leave the series behind. While they'd go back to the drawing board, another internal team at Capcom was cooking with the hottest of fires and would set down another puzzle piece for the creation of Haunting Ground. Arguably one of the most influential companies in the survival horror space with the release of Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, Capcom wanted to do something more with their next entry in the series. I'm not going to go super into depth into development and the background behind Resident Evil 4, because that's for another video, which I do plan on making eventually. But we do need to acknowledge some things that tie into Haunting Ground. Development for Resident Evil 4 began all the way back in 1999, and it would go through at least 4 different early drafts: Stylish, Castle, Hookman, and Zombie. Stylish was a script written by Hideki Kamiya that later became Devil May Cry.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
Castle and Hookman were both set in a castle owned by Oswald E. Spencer, but Hookman added ghosts. And Zombie is exactly what you think it is: zombies. The castle build, however, is what we're most interested in. After the Stylish build was revised to become Devil May Cry, Flagship, a subsidiary of Capcom, began work on another draft of Resident Evil 4. The project would be led by Noboru Sugimura and would involve Leon Kennedy, now a specialized agent of the US Army. Leon would take part in a raid on the castle owned by Oswald E. Spencer with a small team that would go horrifically wrong. The game would feature a black fog enemy that would infect Leon with a virus that would slowly begin to mutate within him. This build would eventually turn into the Hookman demo, which added more supernatural elements and hallucinations for Leon to deal with, as well as the, Hookman. While developing these versions of Resident Evil 4, Yasuhisa Kawamura, scenario writer who had worked on Resident Evil 3, worked with Sugimura to develop both the Castle and the Hookman demos. Using a scene from Lost Souls where Winona Ryder awakens suddenly in an abandoned building, alone, and added the idea of a girl and a BOW dog. That's stupid. Locked in the castle before encountering Leon. Well, this idea would be scrapped, and Resident Evil 4 would decide on a different path, quite possibly for the best, considering the big kahuna bucks that Resident Evil 4 would make. Sugimura would deliver a revised script of the events to another project Capcom had in the works. Remember how we talked about Clock Tower 3 and how it was super successful and the team wanted to make another Clock Tower, but they just thought like it would be too, easy because it's like, man, we don't want to make another big bang buster, gangbuster thing. Well, the team behind Clock Tower 3 wasn't done with the Clock Tower IP. They still believed in the project, and they weren't exactly ready to close that door. It was up in the air whether this would be another Clock Tower or a spiritual successor, but the developers knew they wanted the protagonist to be a woman, like the Clock Tower series. Now, gaming back in the early aughts was not exactly the most women-centric, or at least that's what the developers thought, and so they decided to sweeten the pot a little, cover the big pill in cheese. You get what I mean? They put a fucking dog in it. Using the revised script from Sugimura for inspiration, the developers would begin work on a game that would become Haunting Ground. The story of a girl and a dog, alone in a very hostile environment, forced to work together to survive. Haunting Ground, also known as Demento in Japan, would be first shown at TGA in 2004, before it would release on April 21st, 2005 in Japan, and May 10th the same year in North America. The game focuses on the story of Fiona Belli, an 18-year-old college student who wakes up after a car crash with her parents in an eerie castle, and her newfound companion, Huey, the white German Shepherd. The two would traverse the ancestral Belli castle, facing the horrifying remnants that roam the halls, while they attempted to find a way out. The game was directed by Kazuhiro Tsuchiya, and was made by the Studio One team, with many of the developers from Clock Tower 3 working on Haunting Ground as well. Naoto Takanaka, a Japanese actor, director, comedian, and singer, would supervise over the motion capture of Haunting Ground. Weird connection, but Naoto would also dub for a bunch of Western movies coming to Japan, being most famously known as the dub actor for Nick Fury in the Avengers series. I have to give massive props to Takanaka. The cutscenes are really well directed in this game. A lot of the moments are just eerie enough without going too overboard or too, supernatural in a way. It's hard to describe, but you'll see what I mean here shortly. With development starting a little after the release of Clock Tower 3, we can surmise the development took between 2 to 3 years for Haunting Ground. The game was released on PlayStation 2 and has not been ported over to any console since, except for a PS3 re-release in Japan. That was a digital-only re-release, so you're not going to get any Japanese PS3 copies of Haunting Ground on eBay or anything. It is so unfathomably criminal that this game has not been ported over to anything else. I'm not asking for a remake. I don't want a remake of this, but just any sort of re-release, any sort of port so that more people can play this, because it is a really interesting game. With having covered the story behind Haunting Ground, let us now dive into the story of Haunting Ground. Now, Haunting Ground is a 20-year-old game, but I'm still going to put a spoiler warning here because of how obscure it is. If you don't want to be spoiled on this game, or if you want to try to play it yourself, please feel free to do so. It can be hard to acquire this game. The PS2 version on eBay can run upwards of anywhere from $250 to $700, depending. And of course, you would need to have a PS2 and a TV that the PS2 could connect to as well. And so, yeah, it gets a little hard. And of course, there's emulation, but emulation, has to be done legally. But emulation is not a perfect means to play this game by any standard. There are some texture mishaps that can sometimes happen, and the game is not its true original form. So if you're like one of those guys that's very pure about that stuff, then you should play it in its pure form, and that can be very hard to do. So if you are working on a second job to afford Haunting Ground, then by all means, please skip this video, and I'll be back here when you return in case you want to hear me yap for however long this is going to be. But if you don't care about that, or you just want to know the story and you don't want to play it, or survival horrors aren't really your thing, but you kind of love the history of it, then buckle in, because there's a lot to talk about with this game. Also, content warning, once again, there are some very dark themes in this game, and we are going to be handling those as well. So, fair warning, and don't get mad at me. And let's talk about Haunting Ground. Haunting Ground starts with a cutscene depicting a disfigured man chopping up pieces of boar before turning his attention to a figure in a cage covered by a white sheet. This is our protagonist, Fiona Belly, a young and helpless protagonist who we will be playing for the rest of the game. After freeing herself from the cage, she gets a big old dog jump scare. Fiona picks up the collar, reading the name of the dog jump scare.
Huey.
And begins to make her way up the stairs and out of the dungeon. After exiting the dungeon, we end up in the castle grounds. The background music begins to play, and as we transition to actual gameplay, I knew I was in for an absolute treat. The game looks great, especially for a 20-year-old game, and the ambient music really helps set the tone of the atmosphere. The slight piano, the ghostly wails, the aliens squelching or bubbling, it sounds so cool just walking through the castle. Each of the different zones has their own ambient track as we progress through this game, but this one might be my favorite. Another quick thing to note that made me smile, the rooms are all preloaded. Going from one doorway to another has 0 load time, which I had a little fun with, of course. It's an interesting thing to see in a survival horror game from this time frame, as many games had a little bit of load time going from indoors to outdoors especially, but in this game it's just, you're going from room to room. Everything is connected, and it's really cool. I really like just a little touch like that, and it's super useful for making chases feel more tense and horrifying. As we make our way up the stairs to the only place we can go at the moment, we enter into a bedroom where we get a maid jump scare.
I've gathered some clothes for you.
This is Daniela, the castle maid, and in this cutscene we find out the most horrific part of the game.
Wait! Don't go. Excuse me, but where are we?
Oh no, we're British. Daniela lays out some clothes for us and talks to the portrait of that guy from Ghostbusters, and then leaves.
Yes, Master. We will keep her here for a while. I will make sure she stays comfortable.
We put on the clothes, but not before getting perved on by the portrait gooner in respiratory duress.
Wait a minute. I remember being in the car with...
Now, as we are dressed in our attire, we make our way out of the bedroom and down the hallway where we encounter our friend from the dungeon earlier. This is Debilitas, and he's our first stalker enemy of the game. As the cutscene ends, we have to run back to the room where we are taught how to hide. Fiona isn't by any means a fighter. She's not a STARS member. Fighting is not in our wheelhouse. When dealing with the stalkers, we will be running and hiding for the most part of our game. Our hiding spots can consist of closets, underneath beds or benches, in bushes, or even sometimes crouching behind the door will help do the trick on getting a stalker out of the room. It doesn't always work, and I never got it to work, but I'm also bad at video games, so while you're hiding, you'll get a message to pop up that says, hiding. When a stalker enters the room that you hid in, they will begin to search around for you, looking to see if you are still in the room. Sometimes they will check your hiding spot, especially if they've been led to this room multiple times and you have just vanished. They'll start to check closets and doors and underneath beds, and that can be a little terrifying the first time you see a stalker start to peek their head under the bed. It is a little scary. But if they do leave, you do get this little message that pops up that says coast clear. Don't fucking believe that. The coast is not clear. The coast has never been less clear. When a stalker leaves their room, they don't just despawn. No, they are in the other room. And as soon as you get out of your hiding spot and you start to walk around, or if you were to call out to Huey possibly, they will hear you and they will come back. In fact, I got terrified because I stepped out from hiding and then began to examine the portrait of this young fella, and then all of a sudden I heard the footsteps of Debilitas, and it fucked me up. And I realized, oh, this game is not like other hide and seek survival horror games that I've played. The killer is still here and it will fuck your shit up. They come back. After we eventually lose Debilitas, we make our way back to where he found us, and after pushing a heavy crate out of the way, we enter into a room that seems to be covered in alchemical supplies, as well as this large poop statue. This is the clay golem, and after reading a note, we find out his name is Ameth. Now, Ameth really likes his name, so as we head across the hall into what looks to be an abandoned ballroom, we can find a plate key maker, or a typewriter.
It's not a computer, that's for sure. It has alphabetic keys, though.
And insert the name Ameth on a plate key. Putting that in our friend Ameth will cause the large clay golem to move out of our way, unblocking the path for us. As we make our way down the path, we eventually end up in a music room where this scene plays out.
Ah, Fiona. I see you finally awakened. There's something that I've wanted to show you for quite some time. Pull away that sheet behind you. That, my dear, is what you will become in the future. Go ahead. You may touch it. You will be mine, Fiona.
Thank you, Kanye. Very cool. So we leave the music room and the wooden pregnancy statue behind, and that's when we run into our other new friends, the Luminescence. Luminescents are glowing balls of panic that will follow you from room to room, and if they touch you, they will cause you to scream and increase your panic level. Oh yeah, did I mention that you have a panic meter in this game? More on that in a second. We actually get a little hint at these guys in the study we passed before meeting Debbie, and it mentions that they're attracted to something called Azoth. Luminescents will follow Fiona through multiple rooms, with the only way to block their path being to close the doors behind you. But this can also be a little risky, as you need those doors open to escape pursuers easier, as the pursuers don't stop when you're opening a door and in fact can interrupt that animation. They're relatively easy to outmaneuver, except for one section a little bit later in the game where they are absolutely a death sentence and the most annoying part. We head to the kitchen where we find a map of the castle in the cellar, and as we come back up, it's time for another Debilitas chase.
Please excuse me, miss. I am Ricardo, keeper of the castle. So sorry to hear about your accident. Your parents. As Master Ugo and Mistress Ayla are both deceased, you, Miss Fiona, are the sole surviving heir of Belly Castle. Are you in pain, miss? Will you be all right? You've had a long day. Please, rest upstairs. Your bed has been prepared.
So we meet Ricardo, find out that she was the sole survivor of the crash that involved her parents. Also, I really love Debilitas so much. He is by far one of the most innocent of the stalkers, and I honestly feel super bad for him. Debilitas is a man that is developmentally and, mentally a child. but he is in a giant's body. He is one of the most tragic stalkers in this game, maybe except for one. While he may not be as tragic as the second stalker, he's certainly way more innocent than the second stalker. After waking up from our fainting spell, we hear a dog whimpering outside. And as we look, we see a white German shepherd tied to a tree. We free him from his bonds, but as we make our way back up to the room, we run into Debbie again. And luckily, there's a dog with the most chuffed up sound files I've ever heard. The dog we all know as Huey comes to our aid, and with that, we get fucking dog commands. Let's fucking go! As we showed Debilitas that a little dog bite is good for you and me, he eventually runs off and we have a moment of peace before he will come back again, of course.
Thank you. You saved me. Come here. Come on, boy. What's your name? Huey? So you're Huey? Well, hi, Huey.
With our new dog companion at our side, we have finished the intro of Hunting Ground. This is where the game starts to open up. But before we dive deeper into what comes next, let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the game. So I did mention that Fiona has a panic meter, but she also has a stamina bar as well. Both of these meters are invisible, but you can determine how you're doing with either the subtle cues of Fiona's posture and speed, or through the game itself, with increased panic causing the game to blur and start to shake and become a little bit harder to see as you're starting to panic and you're starting to get tunnel vision and all that cool stuff. Panic will increase through extended exposure to a stalker enemy, getting grabbed by a stalker, witnessing disturbing sights like bodies or excessive blood, and getting touched by luminescence. If Fiona reaches full panic, you will lose control of her as she begins to scream and sprint away, with you being able to only control what direction she sprints. Be careful not to hit a wall, as it can slow you down tremendously or even knock you down, leaving you vulnerable for a stalker to kill you. In regards to Huey, he also has his own invisible status bars: stamina and health, and what I like to call the good boy meter. Keeping him happy and full of energy will yield better results, as he is your only lifeline during most of this game. Fiona can control Huey through the use of the right analog stick. Huey will have two different command sets depending on whether or not he is in Explore mode or Battle mode. In Explore mode, you can tell him to search, where he'll fetch items and enter context-specific holes. You can tell him to come to you, or you can tell him to sit. In Battle mode, you can order him to attack or call off an attack. You can also praise him if he does a good job, or scold him if he isn't listening to you. I barely ever told him off, because Huey is the bestest boy, and I felt really bad the first time I told him no. It made my heart hurt a little bit. Part of this game is training Huey. It's not like he follows the command every time, especially in the earlier parts of the game. Huey doesn't trust you in the beginning. He's just returning a favor almost. You saved him from being chained to the tree, and he saved you from whatever Debilitas was going to do to you. It's certainly not as nefarious as some of the other stalkers in this game, but definitely still a little nefarious. Huey's AI is meant to mimic a actual dog's brain patterns. Of course, it's not as developed as it could be. Of course, it's not going to be the most amazing AI in the world, but it is really good for a 20-year-old game. Huey will sometimes just get bored of hanging around you and will start to wander off. Occasionally, he'll sit down if he's a little tired. He will take a couple times to get him to a couple calls to get him to come to you. But he certainly isn't by any means just a simple extension of Fiona. He is his own character that you can control slightly. They actually took inspiration from tactics that dog trainers use to train their dog. Occasionally using positive reinforcement when good. If he does a good thing, use positive reinforcement. It'll bring up his trust meter a lot higher than, just saying good boy all the time. Or at least from what I've heard, it will. And telling him no when he's doing something wrong or he's not listening will help kind of snap him out of whatever trance he is in. It's really cool how in the beginning of this game, you just have what is basically a stray dog. A dog that doesn't know you, a dog that is just with you because it thinks that you are a friend to it because you did one nice thing to it. And you can train this dog up throughout the game to be either your best friend or your worst nightmare. And the training level of Huey not only has an effect on you, the player, of whether you're going to have an easier time or a harder time, but it actually does affect one of the endings. We'll get to that a little bit later, but it is pretty dire. Also, I just think it's nice to mention that, we get to train Huey and make him the bestest boy and get him to follow all our commands and be able to sit in place and do all the things without having to resort to more barbaric tactics. Maybe a little shotgun action. That's a little hot little time of the times. You know what I'm saying? That's a little. Yikes! I got this white dog over here. I just have him sitting up on my. I have two Funko Pops. I have a Funko Pop that my mother gave to me, which was very nice. It's the Funko Pop of me, and then another one that my grandma gave to me that is of the gaming Joker. That's pretty cool. And this dog he's really good at his place sitting, and if he does try to leave his place, I will you got to do what you got to do, you know what I'm saying? Also to note, there's a little training area in the castle grounds where you first start the game, where if you send Huey through this hole, he'll push one of the boxes and you can open the door and there's a ball there and you can throw a ball for Huey and he will fetch it sometimes, and it's pretty cool. I like that. I like playing ball with Huey. He's really awesome. Huey is one of the best parts of Haunting Ground, and I love his inclusion in this game so much. I don't think I would feel as fondly about this game if Huey wasn't there. Without him, it would just be a hide and run horror game, which isn't a bad thing by any means, but his presence makes it truly something special. Speaking of Huey, here he is finding a key for me in the pile of rocks. He really is the best boy. We'll use this key to get to our first touch of Death Trap. There are a couple moments like this in the game where fucking up immediately results in a game over. After we tell Huey to sit on this pressure plate so we can get through the puzzle, turn it off, and bring Huey back, we get a phone call from a strange voice.
Who is this?
You must pay attention now, Fiona. Be wary. of Ricardo. Your Azoth.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? Azoth?
There's that word again, Azoth. If you're curious like me, you might want to figure out what Azoth is a little ahead of time. Well, outside of the game, we do have a description of what Azoth is, as it is a real esoteric alchemical term. Azoth was taken from the Arabic word al-zabuk, which translates to mercury. You know, like the fun liquid metal that that looks really cool and it looks like you really want to play with, but you shouldn't absolutely under any circumstances. Yeah, that one. Yeah. That's the mercury, of course, it's referring to. The first solid state of all metals. It is also known as the universal cure, as well as the essence of transformation and life itself. The symbol associated with Azoth is the cane of Caduceus. Methinks this looks kind of familiar. Debilitus, of course, hearing the call, comes running after us. From this moment on, we're going to have Debilitus stalking us for the rest of this section. This section begins to open up a lot more, and it feels like this is really the start of the Stalker system, as you're eventually getting to the point where the castle is a lot more open to you, and it's way easier for you to accidentally run into a Stalker or get separated from Huey for an extended period of time. There are a couple moments where we can attempt to lose him, throwing him off a balcony or dropping a bookcase on him, but for the most part, this is the game. Enter new area, get introduced to Stalker, have to solve puzzles while evading Stalker, rinse, repeat. It sounds like a simple gameplay loop, but the Stalker in this game are so effective at making you feel paranoid. There are cues when a Stalker is nearby, such as an ambient track muting or Huey growling while looking at a door, and it gets me every time, especially in the early game. There are moments when I would walk through a door and all of a sudden the music cuts off and immediate chill from the top of my spine to down all the way to my asshole. The game is so effective at making you feel dread. It's so fucking awesome. I love it so much. This is my opinion, and my opinion is right forever. I have no other place to put this in the script, so I'm putting it here. As we make our way through the different zones, we might also stumble across these large holes in the wall. Going into these will allow ourselves to enter into a semi-safe room where we can practice alchemy. Yay! This minigame is tough to get the timing down, but it does make the game immensely easier if you can craft the right accessories, like giving Fiona a boost in stamina or making her not panic as much. Throughout the game, you can find medallions, and these medallions act as your currency for alchemy. The minigame gives you a much higher chance of getting something good with the higher rarity medallion that you have, but you can still get shit from a Magus medallion. Once I had acquired a Jade Choker and Alchemist Earrings, I pretty much gave up on alchemy. I would walk in, let Jesus take the wheel, and press the X button a bunch of times to see what I got. Smarter men than me can crack this mini game, but I am happy enough just not getting it. As we make our way through this first section, there's a couple of things to note. Firstly, when we enter back into the main hallway, we can listen in on confrontation between Daniela and Ricardo.
Where is he? Where is the old man? Where's he hiding? I won't let him touch her. Do you hear me, old man? The Azoth is mine.
Ricardo doesn't want this old man involved with Fiona, whom we can assume is the man that's helping us along through the phone, and Daniela is not talking. She does see us though, setting up a little future confrontation, a little foreshadowing. As we leave and headed further throughout the castle, we can also get a little note from a hole. Survival horror pro tags love sticking their hands into mysterious holes. After the hole scare, we get a note that tells us what to do. The note tells us to go to an old mansion, but in order to do that, we need to get some lunar panels to shine a light to get this goddess key. After a couple more puzzles, we shine a light on the door and it opens up to another one of those fuck up and die traps. You're supposed to use Huey to sniff out the correct path through the darkness, but my monitor brightness was high enough that I could just straight up see the path. It was a little funny getting to this point and not realizing that this was a puzzle at all, until after when I was going through and writing the script for this game and couldn't see where I was going, and I was like, oh, hey, that's interesting. I'm gonna look that up, and sure enough, it's supposedly a pretty tough puzzle. Made more for, a PS2 on a CRT TV than a PC with a monitor and 4K and all that stuff, so. After making our way through the dark hallway, we enter into a chapel where we finally acquire the goddess key. But as soon as we start to leave, our good friend Debilitus steps out from behind the door, closing it, and we get our first boss fight of this game. Each boss fight has a puzzle solution, but this is the only boss fight that has 2 direct win conditions and 2 different endings that can be claimed from this. You can either use the items you've acquired to beat Debilitas, or inflict enough damage to these 2 winches to drop a chandelier on him. In my playthrough, I accidentally beat him without the chandelier and ended up killing Debilitas. But if you drop the chandelier on him, you can wound him, but he will be alive still. Whether Debbie lives or dies affects the ending slightly for the first run, but immensely for your second playthrough, as one of the endings requires you to get a key from Debbie that unlocks a secret room that gets you a key to the main gate, allowing you to finish the game early. After defeating Debbie and attempting to use the goddess key, Daniela comes up behind us, letting us know that dinner is ready.
Dinner is served, miss. Dinner is served, miss. My creator said he made me the perfect woman. But I cannot taste or experience pleasure or feel pain.
Thanks for the meal.
I am not complete.
You know, for the perfect woman, she does yap a lot. Fiona feels a little funky, so she goes back to her room to take a nap, her tummy achy. But we are suddenly woken when Daniela gets a little too Scoutmaster Dave for my liking.
I am not complete.
Daniela is my favorite stalker in this game. Her music is so fucking good, her mannerisms are terrifying, and she shows up in some really unexpected places. All the stalkers want something different from Fiona. While Debbie just wants to play with his new dolly, us, Daniela covets the fact that we are alive. She references being created, but she doesn't have life, while Fiona does. She wants what makes us a woman. She is jealous, and that jealousy drives her to hunt us down. While other stalkers have far more nefarious reasons, and might be more powerful in lore, I find Daniela to be the most compelling of these characters in the game. I enjoyed her as an enemy so much more than everyone else. We flee from Daniela, making our way back to the goddess store, but she's already here, cleaning up one of the tiles.
Miss, it's cleaning time now.
And hey, that's cool. I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna shimmy on over to this door over here and unlock it, and oh fuck. Tripping up the stairs, we get a moment where Daniela gets distracted by her own reflection. While she is preoccupied for the moment, we make our way into the spiral staircase that begins to flood, leaving us no way back to the castle. Welcome to the old mansion. This section is filled with nonsensical architecture. Doors that open to nowhere, and parts of the house that move from one path to the other. The old mansion is super confusing to navigate around on your first playthrough. With Daniela as our stalker for the zone, it can be challenging. Haunting Ground does a really good job at differentiating the stalkers from one another. Debilitas is a very simple stalker, easier to trick, but can be harder to lose due to him not dropping chases easily. While Daniela is a smarter predator, closing doors behind her, checking hiding spots more often, but a little easier to lose due to the complexity of the old mansion. But while Debilitas is easier to prepare for due to his loud footsteps and more predictable patterns, Daniela haunts the old mansion more like a supernatural presence rather than a physical one. You can spot her in a passive state, similar to what we saw in the tile room, but sometimes she's not nearly as nice. She'll also hide in hiding spots waiting to surprise Fiona, which scared the shit out of me when I was doing the usual hiding spot check, and boom, out she came. The old mansion and Daniela are definitely my favorite part of the game, and my most anticipated when I come back to play this in hard mode. Another little fun thing to note, it seems as if the old mansion is partially or almost fully underwater, as when we take a look outside the window in the bathroom, we see this. This cutscene also triggers the chase with Daniela, but the fish was cool to look at. From the creepy doll hallway to the thalassophobia window, the mansion is so creepy and I love it so much. As we make our way through the mansion, we end up in a hallway that holds almost all of our puzzles in this section, with each one solved getting us closer to leaving this area. Our first task is the serpent head puzzle, which requires us to make 3 plate keys for the 3 heads. The solution is a little hard to find for this puzzle, but here's a hint. It involves 2 charts on a wall in the old mansion. Once we have the 3 plates, we put them in with a little help from our boy Huey.
Huey!
And climb up the ice pillar, where we enter into a study that gives us the Jupiter key. We use the Jupiter key to get to our next puzzle. The puzzle is split between 2 rooms, a room of lies and a room of truth. On the left, the room of lies has 3 items that are wrong that we have to examine in the room of truth. If we get the item wrong, however, it results in a pretty gruesome and disgusting death. Daniela can be found in the left room, stoking the fire in a passive state, but if you talk to her, this will happen. I find it interesting that the one time talking to her in this state results in a bad outcome is in the Room of Lies. After we find our 3 lies in the Room of Truths, the mansion begins to shift. New areas get unlocked for us, including the graveyard and the garden, and a new path through the carousel. The carousel now leads us to the torture room, where there is what looks to be a corpse with a key around its neck that seems to not be as dead as we once thought it was. We have to solve a simple puzzle to give this corpse guy the death he wants, and then we can use that key to get into the garden. Our next task lies in the garden, as we gotta fetch a little plant for this ghoul hand that is sprouted from the crypt. To find the plant we need, all we have to do is to talk to Daniela on the other side of the fence to get a perfume that will help us locate the right plant. The baby plant screams when you pick it, and sure enough, here comes Daniela. This is her garden, and she is incredibly protective of it, and I think I know why. Daniela is a homunculus. She can't feel pleasure or pain, and I don't think she is entirely robotic. She certainly feels jealousy. That's the entire reason why she's chasing us in the first place. She isn't dictated to do so by her creator. She is jealous of Fiona. She desires her because she is a real woman. And considering the Mandragora's cry is very similar to a baby's cry, I think this is the closest thing she can do to emulate motherhood, or being a complete woman. Now, I'm not saying that motherhood is the only way to be complete as a woman, but in Daniela's distorted vision, it is. After fleeing from Daniela, we take the Mandragora to the ghoul hand and get what might be the cutscene that disturbed me the most. For some background information, I am a new dad. I have an almost 4-month-old baby, and the cry is way too similar to a baby for my ears. It immediately put me on alert, and even putting this clip into the editing software, it's going to fuck me up and give me good old goosebumps. I hate it. I hate it. Anyway, look at this little funny golem run. Also in the graveyard around the crypt entrance where the ghoul hand is, there are a bunch of gravestones you can read that all have the same name, Aureolus Belli, but different birth dates and death dates. More on this later. The crypt happens to be a safe spot for us. Every stalker that can cross into the zone can't enter the crypt at all. It's a good spot for rest if you need it. Heading up to the library, we can find a projector where we can use a film reel we found from a Luminescent puzzle to get a solution for another puzzle and some Daniela context.
this? I was being filmed. Who's there? Why are you after me? What do you want?
Azoth.
Azoth?
Azoth. Essence of life. Of life. Of woman.
We are being filmed, so that's great. We love it. As we make our way towards the puzzle we saw in the film, we might run past an odd-looking machine known as the synthesizer. We don't have to worry about that for now, but later it will be relevant to what is arguably the worst section of this game. After solving the dial puzzle and draining the spiral staircase, we make our way up to another don't fuck up puzzle. A suit of armor with a crossbow stands on the other end of the hallway. One wrong step means death, but luckily Huey's really good at sniffing out the path. We slide past the fella and end up on a balcony in the bridge, where we ascend further into a large tower, where of course we are cornered by Daniela.
Blood, flesh, woman, you vile creature. You lure the man into your filthy body again and again, and you are allowed to do that because you are a precious, precious little princess. Precious little princess.
I will be a Daniela hype man for the rest of my life. Her music, her voice acting, her design, it all fucking hits for me. Her boss fight is pretty easy. All you have to do is push the blocks into the slots and get her in the middle. All it takes is a little bit of timing and some dog biting, and you can beat her very easily, getting this cutscene at the end. As Daniela is impaled, she lets out a scream of pain and dies with a slight smile on her face. Daniela's fingertips are bloody, I think as a form of self-mutilation, attempting to feel something. She is clearly looking for any feeling, even if it is pain, which is why I think in this moment, she does feel pain. She finally feels something, and she smiles. We take the key from Daniela's body and make our way down the spiral steps into another section of the mansion. As we enter into a room known as the Artificial Womb, we meet Ricardo again. And as we end our section with the best stalker in the game, we enter into, what is my opinion, the worst and most annoying stalker of the game.
Miss Fiona. Now, if you would please come with me.
I don't want to. Please let me be. I want to go home.
But Miss Fiona, you are home. This whole castle is all yours. So, Miss Fiona does not wish to stay at her castle. You miserable wench. You were given the greatest gift of all, and you don't even appreciate it. I can't believe the Azoth was wasted on you.
Ricardo is the worst this game has to offer, in more ways than one, and this section is so cramped and tight that it starts to become very tiresome dealing with him. Our main goal in this new zone is to obtain a prima materia that Huey hid from Ricardo before he met Fiona. He hid it in a section of the graveyard that we'll now be able to access in this new zone. Then we have to use 3 different machines to convert it to a white godstone. All while Ricardo, who has a gun, is chasing us down. There's not a lot of hiding spots, and Ricardo is really fast and really hard to shake. This part absolutely sucks compared to the rest of the game, and honestly, if you don't mind being a little bitch, use a guide for this section. I, too, was a little bitch. Also, something to mention, who was floating in the artificial womb? There's no definitive source, but I believe it is the process of creating another homunculus like Daniela. Something interesting to note is that this homunculus is the same game model as Fiona, with some slight alterations. Is it meant to be her, or just reusing assets to save more money? Unfortunately, we don't have a definitive answer, but I personally think that Fiona's model being used for it isn't an accident, and I will reveal why I think that a little later in this timeline. A little tip. There is a medical room in the upper floors of the mansion near the red tinted hallway that you can use with both Daniela and Ricardo. Inside there is an acetylic acid and a sulfuric acid. The acetylic acid doesn't do anything, but the sulfuric acid can get a pursuer off your back for a little bit of time. I highly recommend getting Ricardo up here and melting his face to buy you a little bit extra time to get the White Godstone complete. Hey, speaking of that, we got it, but we made it red. You can put the White Godstone in a 4th machine to make a red Godstone. It'll solve the puzzle you need it to, but you can also take it with you to get some neat gear in a future zone. Speaking of a future zone, hey, we're in the next zone. Whoa! The Chaos Force beckons us forward, and everything is going swell.
Huey!
Horrible. Awful. I hate this game. This game is terrible, and I don't want to play this game anymore. We find Huey with an injured leg, but before able to get him back up on his feet, we are cornered by Ricardo. Ricardo chases us through the forest until we wind up on a cliff, where we get a huge, shocking, big if true, large if natural revelation.
Why are you doing this? What did I do?
You inherited your father's Azoth. That is what you did.
What Azoth? I don't even know what that is.
That Azoth belongs to us, Fiona. Don't you see? You are our child.
Stop! I am not your child. I know exactly who my parents are.
Fiona, we are, or rather I am, knowledge. I hold invaluable information from the dawn of time. I am a great alchemist. I will not die. I am Oriola's belly, and I... Look at me, Fiona. Look.
What?
Just like your father, Ugo.
Daddy?
We are clones. We are clones. Ugo is no more. I am the original. With that, Azoth, I will finally be complete. You are about to give birth to me all over again.
So a couple things. Papa Ugo and Ricardo are the clones of Oriola's belly. That's why the gravestones with the same name but different dates. All different clones of Oriola's. Which I think is also why the girl in the womb is an attempt at cloning Fiona. After all, if they are making clones of one guy, what's to say they couldn't have gotten enough of her DNA to make a clone? We don't know how much DNA is needed to make the clone, if any, and since her dad being a clone would make her a half-clone, then the clone made of her has a chance to have the Azoth they need, right? My own little personal theory.
Ugh! game theory.
We also find out how creepy this game can get real fast. With the reveal that Ricardo is our Uncle Dad, we also find out the true intentions of him, mentioning that we will give birth to him again, allowing himself to be reborn from our womb.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And as Fiona now lies unconscious, we are whisked away to the next zone. We awaken in a cell with Huey now recovered, having come to save us. Like we saved him, he is here returning the favor once again. If you treated Huey well, or like a normal person would, you continue the game from here. But if you did not develop a good rapport with Huey, either kicking him too much, or scolding him too many times, or feeding him food that made him not like it, or never attempting to even be a friend to this dog, which I don't know why you would do that at all, Huey will not come and rescue you. And instead you will get the darkest ending of a video game I have ever seen in my life.
Ah, you're up. Fiona, I've decided you shall give birth to me. Don't worry, I do not intend to kill you. If you would just lend me your womb.
What?
I shall be born again, this time with your Azoth.
I told you so. As we wake up from being carried off by Ricardo, we also notice that our clothes have been changed and our hair is down. Gross. After leaving our cell, we head out the door towards another Ricardo section, but hey, where is he?
Fiona! Damn you, you useless mutt! Ah, the formula is working then. It works directly on the eyes. You can't see me, can you? You are mine. I own you. You are mine. I own you.
Oh, cool. Awesome. The rapist is invisible. Ricardo has put some concoction in our eyes so we can't see him, but luckily, Huey can. We have a long spiraling section where we have to get to the top, grabbing a wooden bridge, sitting in a rusty pipe from the bottom floor. We press on forward, making our way all the way to the top. As we go across this very long and very arduous spiral section, There are multiple points where Ricardo, who is once again invisible, will attempt to start chase with us. There's no real hiding spots here. He's just basically running and avoiding him until he gets bored, or just sticking Huey on him a bunch of times and going to the next area or as far as you can. This is also where the luminescence can be really awful, as we enter into an area that has fucking a lot of them, and they will stun lock you and send you into panic, and then Ricardo will catch up to you and kill you. It fucking, I hate that part, and it's a little terrifying every time. Also, I had to play this section again. I don't like this section at all. I really don't like this section at all, but I lost the recording of this section, so I had to play through this moment again, and that was not fun. So, we make our way towards a planetarium where we have a very simple puzzle ahead of us. We have to just go on the glowing light, send Huey to the other light, tell him to stay, go on another glowing light. It's very easy and, you know, just a good break. Also, Ricardo can't enter this room. It's another little safe area, and it's nice to catch our breath after dealing with the invisible rapist. Yeah. After solving the puzzle with Huey, we make our way up through the staircase that had just lowered, and we place the wooden bridge in a diorama, and hey, cool, a real bridge. That's pretty awesome. I like that. There are two other pieces you can collect for this puzzle, but those are just red herrings. You get nothing for them, and they just exist to make you, you know, have to go up and back down the spiral staircase. As the bridge raises, of course, our good friend Ricardo shows up, asking a very simple and understandable question before we have a boss fight.
Fiona! Why must you defy me? Why do you run? Let me into your womb!
This fight is a little annoying and janky, but it isn't too hard. In this fight, we have to send Huey into one of the holes where he will appear out another side hole. At this point, we just have to line Ricardo up to the hole that Huey is in and send him forward, in which Huey will knock him to his death.
Huey, go!
Oh. No.
We make our way all the way back down the tower and confirm the kill. Yep, he's dead. Rest in peace, Uncle Dad Rapist clone. We make our way across the bridge and enter into the House of Truth. As we head inside the very odd esoteric house, we can enter into a synthesis room and get our clothes back. Minus our shoes, of course. We all know what game we're playing here, guys. Come on. As we head down the dark hallway of Barty Parts, we grab a golden candlestick from the side room and push on to the only other room we can go to, where we finally meet the man that has been helping us along.
Who's there?
Poor Fiona. Ricardo put you through quite a bit, didn't he? Unlike Ugo, he was always a troublemaker. A bad apple? I, Aureolus Lorenzo Belli, created them both, Ricardo and Ugo. But then, along came that wench, Ayla. She stole Ugo away from me. Of course, then you came along, my dear. My dear Fiona. Fate brought you back to me. And now, you are mine. All mine!
Our friend Lorenzo reveals that his full name is Aurelius Lorenzo Belli, and he, like everyone else, desires Fiona for his own wicked schemes. We make a quick escape from a crawling Lorenzo before leading him back to the lobby and down the right stairwell. It's here where we put our candlestick to use. We all make our way through the new passage until... We start another chase with Lorenzo, which leads us to a dead end. The door needs a key and we don't have it. And as we examine the generator with some kick in action, Lorenzo comes crawling in and we have ourselves a little fight. All we gotta do to beat him is to stun him with Huey or knock him out on the tracks of the Rock Crusher before kicking the generator 3 times to start the Rock Crusher. It's really easy to do, and once you complete it, you get to crush the final stalker of the game. Yay! Leaving his key behind, we take it and unlock the door, leading into another lobby. We enter into the door available to us, but suddenly we are locked inside as a strange voice begins to taunt us.
Oh, you've been very naughty, Fiona. You are causing me much grief.
We just have to let him speak for a bit, interacting with the few interactables we can to try to get those voice lines out a little bit earlier, before finally the door unlocks and we can leave back to where we came. But this isn't where we came from.
The great Aureolus Belli once said, "The most valuable thing in this world is the great truth." Human beings, human life, they are not capable of grasping this truth. We cannot merely sit idle and await the future. We must dedicate our lives to the realization of the truth. Fiona. No. My Azoth. Come to me. Come to me.
The House of Truth is weird and nonsensical, with architecture that morphs or exists in a way that doesn't match the layout. After the Chaos Forest, the game becomes a lot more linear, but the House of Truth at least has some clever tricks to make it feel less like a hallway with its magical properties. Definitely better than the Watchtower section. As we leave the room, a voice speaks to us once more, and we are beckoned to another room. As we enter, we come face to face with...
Daddy.
Fiona, my dear holder of Azoth.
What's going on? You're not my...
Azoth is the essence of life. We alchemists have the ability to convert it into power. We can live forever. Your Azoth, Fiona, belongs to me. Come to me, Fiona. I will now extract the Azoth latent in you, in order to realize the everlasting life of Oriola's belly.
Aureolus Lorenzo Belli, in his prime, is here, and he's got all his magic powers back. It seems as if crushing him only made it worse, or maybe it's his contact with Fiona that gave him a smidgen of the Azoth. Either way, we have a chase that leads us out of this room, into the room that Huey was hanging out in, and down a never-ending hallway until we get to the Hall of Colors. A simple puzzle that can be time-consuming at first. We have to go through a separate color door one by one until we end with black. It's 5 colors in total: red, blue, green, yellow, and then finally black, with each door only having 2 colors to the end of their doors. It can get a little confusing, but once you figure out that red and green both have black as the ending door, you can figure out the correct order by process elimination in order to reach your goal. Getting through the Hall of Colors puts us back into the main lobby where we entered from, but looking once again a little different than before. There's no door out, and the rooms are switched, and there are no doors to go back into the hallway that we entered in before. It's a weird, almost parallel version of that. We make our way down the left path and into a hallway where we can eventually enter into the boiler room. The wall requires something, and luckily Huey has got the scent. I haven't gotten Huey to actually lead me to the scent on either of my tries at this. Once again, playing through this section twice now, but we just have to make our way through the mines until we find a suspicious looking wall that Huey starts to bark at. Fiona's never mentioned but always blurry birthmark begins to cause the wall to react, and sure enough, a hidden object is revealed. We have ourselves the Cane of Caduceus, the symbol related to Azoth. Taking this back into the boiler room, we can unlock the main door magically, but before we can leave this nightmare behind, Lil L is back for one final showdown.
Is for naught. How long do you plan to keep this up? Let's finish this, Fiona.
The fight is just a straight up brawl. No special puzzle to beat him. Even though those fans are placed there to make it look like there's something unique with them, don't even bother with them. Just dog bite, a little bit of magnesium, fuck him up. It's tough, and he has some really powerful attacks. It isn't by any chance the hardest survival horror boss I've ever fought. You can also kick these green pebbles in the lava that will fall from the roof, and they'll create little hot spots that you can walk over, but Lorenzo can't. It's really unreliable, and honestly, if you have enough resources, I say just use the resources that you have and dog bite the fuck out of him. Make sure you have some beef jerky for this fight. It makes the fight so much easier. After a little bit too much of the dog bite action, Lorenzo begins to step back towards the pool of lava before eventually falling within it. Finally, we have the end of Lorenzo once and for all. The House of Truth starts to shake and crumble, but as we leave the boiler room behind, we get another special appearance. Lorenzo Belli, the Lord of Fire, begins chasing after us. As Lord of Fire, Lorenzo is chasing after us. We also have the time crouching with the tremors so that we don't fall. If we do get hit by one of these tremors, it'll cause us to fall in a pretty long animation, and since Lorenzo is unaffected by the tremors, it can lead to a lot of deaths in this section. I had some tough times playing through this section. If we get so much as touched by Lorenzo in this state, we are dead. It is a one-hit kill, and it is mean and brutal. We proceed through the mines until we eventually make it to the main hall, where all of a sudden we are fortunately stopped by a statue that begins to crumble in our way. I can't tell if this is a QTE or not. A lot of people say just mashing the circle button and holding up and to the left on the analog stick will help be able to push it back up, but I haven't noticed any change. I think the best thing you can do is to try that and just make sure you have a good lead on Lorenzo, because he doesn't stop. And if he touches you while you're in this animation, it's over. It's a very weird moment. I don't know why this section is in here other than maybe just a special little scare to try to like, oh no, you're not going out now and we got you, you know, but it's a very odd moment, and it feels like a QTE that was not led up to, you know, at all. Also in this section, even as annoying as this section can be with Lorenzo killing you in one hit, I gotta say the music on this section fucking rules so hard. It sounds like the game is like starting to break apart, and I really, really like it. It is on my Spotify playlist for if I want to give myself a little spooky scare. I have to get it. It took me at least 3 or 4 times to finally get enough of a lead on Lorenzo to beat the statue QTE and escape without him touching us. But as we make our way towards the door, we get a final moment between us and Aureolus Lorenzo Belli. The end of Aureolus Lorenzo Belli. And as dawn begins to break, we make our way back to the main gate. With a reassuring noise from Huey, we step out from the grounds of Belli Castle, finally out of the nightmare.
Thanks, Huey. on, boy. Huey! Wait up, boy!
Because we killed Debilitas, we didn't get to see him again here. But if you spared him, he steps out with a pair of shears and begins to take care of the grounds, acknowledging Fiona, but not going after her. That is the end of Haunting Ground. Besides the bad ending, there is another ending if you spare Debilitas in your second playthrough, where you can get a key that unlocks a secret area of the castle that gives you the main key that you can use to escape early. Doing so causes Lorenzo to fall down some stairs, so that's pretty funny. There's also tons of bonus content, new costumes that add special interactions for Fiona and Huey. Yep. A special side mode where you play as Huey guiding Fiona, and certain unlockables you can only get from a second playthrough. There's a lot of replayability in Haunting Ground compared to other games like it from this generation. Unfortunately, Haunting Ground was not the smash hit Capcom was hoping for. While it received mixed to positive reviews, with some citing its sexual themes and darker subject matter to be handled well, and others considering gratuitous, it sold pretty poorly according to reports. While no official number is given, it certainly didn't break any milestones. A new IP following a disastrous attempt at Clock Tower unfortunately would contribute to Haunting Ground fading quickly, after not even being given the chance to burn. Another contributing factor to its unfortunate obscurity would be the very same thing that was involved in its creation. On January 11th, 2005, Capcom released the best video game of all time ever, for real, I promise, Resident Evil 4. While Resident Evil 4 turned the genre on its head and introduced more action elements, Haunting Ground added a dog and kept you helpless. It was understandable why many didn't give this game a shot. Hell, I didn't even know what this game was until the last 4 or 5 years. That doesn't mean, however, the Haunting Ground isn't a well-curated survival horror experience. I think Haunting Ground is an amazing game, and it does some really interesting things with the genre. It was just unfortunately shadowed by the massive weight of Leon Scott Kennedy. I personally really like this game a lot. I think it handles its themes well, in a time where they could have easily just perverted it. Yeah, Fiona's outfit is a little skimpy, but knowing that those clothes were made specifically for her leans into the idea of Fiona being desired by everyone in that castle for mostly nefarious means. Not you, Debbie. You're an innocent little guy. I'm so sorry I killed you. I miss you already, buddy. Yes, some of the dialogue is certainly dated, and Ricardo's sections can be really annoying and unfun. But Debilitas and especially Daniela make up for that in spades. The music is phenomenal, the voice acting is really good for the most part. Huey is the best dog in video games of all time, and it was genuinely scary to me. I don't think there's a good way to make a sequel out of this game. I think we should leave the story of Fiona behind. She's been through enough. But I would love to see a re-release or a port of this game, just so that people could get to the chance to experience this. I love it so much, and I'm so happy that it exists. There's not much more for me to say about it other than I think this game is awesome. I think it's well designed. It's certainly janky in some moments, but I think it's a very earnest and good and fun and spooky survival horror game. Thank you for watching this long and rambling video. Granted, I don't know how long it is right now. This is just the recording part, but I can only assume that it's going to be a decently long video. I've got more videos planned like this. I want to do more stuff like this on the channel. I want to move more into this stuff. This stuff is what, you know, this stuff I really like writing for this. I really like the recording aspect. I really like finding a niche that I can kind of have fun with and learning a new experience and playing a new game and talking about games is very fun. I've got more videos, both featured in the gaming industry as well as in more real life events on the way, on the docket. I want to do more stuff like this with the channel, and this is more than likely what the channel is going to be going forward in the terms of tone and the types of videos that do come up on here. If you like this video, drop a like, leave a comment telling me what you want to see next, and consider subscribing. If you like what you see, show some support. I'd love to continue doing stuff like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.